Hey y'all, welcome to the Farmer's Table. My name is Jess. I'm so glad you're here in my kitchen with me today. This is going to be a really brief video sharing a really great snack that is very simple to make, affordable. This is a snack that is a great alternative if you love a crispy, salty, maybe a little oily treat like potato chips, and you're looking for something that isn't so high in carbs or potentially isn't made with inflammatory oils. Today we're going to talk about the kale chip. Right here I've got a lovely bouquet of kale. I actually picked these out in my garden yesterday evening. I was working out there and I knew I wanted to make this video today. So I picked it yesterday, put it in a cup of water here on the counter. They're nice and fresh, and you can do this for a couple of days if you're picking fresh kale. Or if you get kale from the store, you can stick it in some water in your fridge even, and that'll help it stay nice and crisp and hydrated. I've got a few different varieties here, but this is all just kale, and I've got it washed. That's the first thing you're going to want to do with your kale, is wash it, no matter if you grew it or bought it. And I'm just going to take this and tear the kale off of the main rib. You can put this with your kale chips if you want, in which case you could just chop these, but I've found that these pieces don't get super crisp. It doesn't bother me so much, but since I am presenting this as a crispy snack to my children, they're great critics when it comes to things like that. So I'm just pulling them off. I'll take these ribs and throw them out to the chickens. Kale chips really do hit the spot if you are snacky. If you like something being salty with some oil, having a really good flavor, you can definitely sit and eat a lot of these, and that's not a bad thing. Whereas if you were to eat the equal amount of something like potato chips, you definitely might not feel so great afterwards. When I was pregnant with Ezra, kale chips were like my big craving, and at that point I seriously made kale chips in mass every single day. I ate them in such excess that I actually took a break from eating them for a little while. I burned myself out, but we joked for a little bit that we were going to name the baby Kale because that's just all I wanted to eat. You can do these a variety of ways. You can season them, get creative with it. You can use garlic powder if you want something that kind of has like a cheesiness to it. You can use nutritional yeast, which is actually not cheese, and you can eat that if you're dairy free. It's like flaky and yellow. A lot of times you can find it in like the health food store or in the baking area of a regular grocery store. Sometimes they'll have it. I know Bob's Red Mill makes a bag of nutritional yeast that's commonly available in big stores. But I prefer my kale chips pretty basic. I have my oven currently heated to 400 degrees, and I have this baking sheet right here. Now mine is stoneware. You can use glass or metal, whatever it is you have. Your times may vary based on your oven and your baking pan, but I usually just do this right here on the pan. You could do it in a separate bowl if you wanted to, if that makes you feel like you get more even coating, but then you have another bowl to wash. So I've got some olive oil here. This is just a plain olive oil, no added flavor. But you just want to make sure that your kale is evenly coated with a drizzle of oil. I've seen where people do these in like an air fryer with no oil, and I think that if kale chips were not oily and salty, they may lose their appeal for me. So I'm just going to tell you, this is how I do it. I do relatively big pieces. I'm going to tear that one in half. That's probably a little too big. I usually do pieces about this size because once they're baked, I want them to be, you know, not just crumbles. So I've got my nice coating of oil. I have salt here. Just like this is a good kosher salt, sea salt. You do a pretty generous sprinkle, and this is all I do. I've played with other seasoning mixes, and they are good, but this is just my favorite. I like kale chips because they're a good replacement for potato chips, so I just want regular salt. If you have a favorite way of seasoning kale chips, if you've made these before, I'd love it if you throw it in the comment section down below. I'd be willing to try some of those, and maybe they will become somebody's favorite snack. All right, these are going in the 400-degree oven. I'm gonna put 20 minutes on that and take a look at them whenever we get to that point. This is one of those things that can take slightly different amounts of time every time you do it, because it just depends like how hydrated your kale is, different things like that. All right, these have been in about half the time, and I'm actually gonna go in here and stir them. They're starting to dry out, and I want to make sure that all of the places evenly crisp up. You can see there's definitely some shrinking. You can really pile them on, but I like to keep it somewhat even so that I don't end up with any soft bits. Alright, my timer just went off. Let's look at these. Yeah, I think these look pretty crisp. Alright, here are my kale chips. As you can see, they're just crisped up, kind of dehydrated. They're so good. Of course, you get to decide if you want them to be a little on the softer side. I like them to be super crisp. Here's one that's still quite green comparatively. And it's still got a little bit of bend to it, but it's still really good. So you have to play around with it a little bit. I'm not really putting a recipe out for this because it's so simple. However, if you don't know you can do this, you would never even think to try. Guys, y'all want to come taste test?
Yes.
So they're very, very hot. So grab one and blow on it, okay?
Okay.
Come here, Ben. All right. You want to show the other kids out there how cool it is to eat kale chips?
Yep. Not that hot.
Not that hot, no.
Yeah.
The pan's really hot. They're good? Y'all like it? Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. Tell me how you like your kale chips. If you've never tried them, tell me if you're going to. We bless you guys. Until next time.